Hello, everybody. Welcome in today. My name is Barbara Draskin. Today, we're going to talk about how to profit in the liquidation market. And we're going to touch on some things that are happening right now in the news and how they're going to affect the liquidation market. Before I get started, I wanted to show off my t-shirt that I make these. It says, "I'm not a hoarder." That's my inventory. And I'm going to show you a way that you can get one of these t-shirts. You can only get them from me because I custom make these. At towards the end of the presentation, I'll let you know how you can get one for yourself, and you can get it in a different color, of course, too. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. So if you're new to liquidation, put new in the chat. If you've bought at least one liquidation pallet, put bought in the chat and let me know new, brand spanking new. Yay, new. Good, good, good. That's awesome. Thank you for interacting. Let's go ahead and pull up the presentation and let's just get started here. Hmm. There we go. You should be able to see my screen. It says how to make money with liquidation in 2025. Let me get my lovely face off of there. So it's just the presentation being recorded. Okay, so let's get started. You're here because you want to know how to dip into the liquidation market this year and beyond. So a little bit about me. I have bought and sold liquidation for 15 years. I had to do the math on that. 2010, probably a little bit before then, but I like round math. So 15 years. I've made every mistake in the book, and I've learned a bunch of tricks and tips that a lot of people don't know about. So all kinds of ways to find honey holes of liquidation products that only you know about, and we'll cover some of that. So in today's training, keep in mind that I can't cover 15 years of experience and knowledge in an hour presentation, but I'm going to cover as much as I can for you in today's training. Here's what we're going to talk about. What are the types of product available in the liquidation market? What are my three most lucrative profit models? Because there are so many profit models in this market. I'm going to cover the three that have worked best for me and have the lowest barrier to entry. And then how to avoid being scammed by shady operators. This is a big one. This is a big one. And I'm going to tell you some telltale signs to look for when you're out shopping for liquidation pallets so that hopefully you will avoid the mistakes that I made early on. And then three methods to finding profitable inventory that you can implement right away after this presentation. You can get started right away. Oops, sorry about that. So what are the types of products available in the liquidation market? I know you hear all of there's terminology bandied about. Here's the thing. If you don't know the terminology in the liquidation market and you go into like a liquidation store, whoever you're talking to will hear right away that you don't know the terminology. And it's like going to the mechanic where you don't know, you're calling things a doohickey and a thingamabob. You could set yourself up for being taken advantage of. So you want to make sure that you start learning some of the lingo used in the liquidation market. So here are some of the types of products available. Customer returns. We all have seen these pallets, right? Big 7 foot tall pallets with a bunch of case boxes and they're mystery pallets. You don't know what's on there, right? There's just all it's wrapped up and there's a bunch of random stuff on there. And there are positives and negatives to each of these types of liquidation, and we'll get into a little bit of that in a little bit. So excess inventory and overstock. I kind of like this one for my business model. I'll show you behind the scenes in my warehouse in a little bit. I'm actually running from my warehouse today. I'm actually teaching from my warehouse today. So you'll be able to see a little bit behind the scenes. I like excess inventory and overstock because I know exactly what I'm getting. It's usually manifested. There's one of the keywords you want to understand and learn about, where I know exactly what is on a pallet and what I am buying. So it might cost me a teeny bit more, maybe. Not if I do it right, I can get it for a great price, for a liquidation price, but I know it's not customer returns and there's a lower fail rate. So with customer returns, anywhere between 15 and 25, 30, 35% of your pallet is stuff that's not sellable. With excess inventory and overstock that's manifested, there's a very, very low fail rate. Business liquidation, same thing. I know what I'm getting. Closeouts, dead stock, bankruptcy, undeliverable mail, abandoned goods, canceled orders. These are all some of the types of products available in the liquidation market. And there are other types of products available too. but these are kind of the main ones that I have sourced in the past. So, how big is this market? Let's talk about the size of the liquidation market. In 2022, I didn't pull the number for 2023, but I'm sure it's bigger. Americans returned 800 billion with a B worth of merchandise, according to the National Retail Federation. Have you ever wondered where does that stuff go? That goes into the broker channel, the liquidation channel, and gets kind of moved around to different parts of the channel. You know, broker, contract holders, brokers, liquidation stores, bin stores, etc. That product has to go somewhere, right? And therein lies the big opportunity for people who are buying liquidation. There's so much of it out there in so many different forms that it's quite easy to buy liquidation pallets once you know what you're doing, once you know where to look and how to evaluate the merchandise. And I'm going to give you some of those sources. I'll give you an opportunity to get some of my most favorite sources, and I'll also drop some sources. And make sure you have a pen and a pad because I'm going to give you a couple of websites that I love to shop from for closeouts during this presentation. Let me just take a little bit of water there. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Does everybody know where I'm going to go with this? Does anybody know where I'm going to go with this? The elephant in the room as of the past couple of days. Go ahead and put it in the chat. What is the elephant in the room that will affect the liquidation market? Well, retail in general, because we're going to touch on this because it will affect how you approach liquidation. Anybody know? Go ahead and put that in the chat. And if you answered tariffs, you'd be right. So let's talk about the opportunities that will become even more available due to policy changes like tariffs in the liquidation market. So here's what I believe will happen. One of the things that will happen. So people will be purchasing less products in retail stores potentially, or in any retailers, and also direct from China like Temu and Shein, because of potentially 101% or 104% tariffs. So what, 104%, right? So basically double. So what will happen is people will start looking more at thrift stores, secondhand product, buying from like a bin store, a liquidation store. Buyers, first of all, they're trying to save money right now, or they're sitting on their money because there's been so many changes in the past 6 weeks that everybody's kind of a little bit scared. So even if they have money, they're being much more frugal. So they're going to start moving towards buying what I call secondhand products, liquidation products and things that they can get at a discount versus going to a large retailer who maybe is importing a lot of their products. So their prices will most definitely go up by some percentage. So there will be a shift towards people buying retail, towards people buying from folks like us who buy and resell liquidation. So I think this market is going to become even bigger and even stronger with a whole lot more opportunity and profit. That is my take on tariffs. So here are the 5 most lucrative profit models in my world. Now, there are so many different profit models in the liquidation market that you can build out and make profitable for you. These are the ones that work best for me. Local auctions. So a great place to start when you're buying liquidation. Don't jump in and buy a truckload and when you're not quite sure what you're doing and you haven't vetted your suppliers. What I would do if I were you is go to Google and type in auction and then your nearest city and find a pretty big auction house, both either online or offline. We have to physically go or online and start perusing all the different auctions on their site. One of the ones that I love, it's in many cities nationally, not every single city, but quite a few. It's called localauctions.com. I actually buy and sell from that site, so you'll see my product on that site as well. And you can buy liquidation product individually or by the pallet on auction sites. Facebook Marketplace listings. I love going to Facebook Marketplace. And here are the keywords you're going to type in: store closing, liquidation, case pack. So anything business closing, anything you would if you had to liquidate a bunch of product, what keywords would you use when you create a listing? You're going to type those keywords in, and believe it or not, OfferUp and Craigslist are great places to find. I know Craigslist we haven't heard about in a while, but that's okay. There are still a lot of opportunities on OfferUp. You want to try, I'm sorry, on Craigslist. You can also type in bulk deals, bulk. So start with Facebook locally, OfferUp, and Craigslist in your local area. And you notice the first two, the common denominator in the first two is you're going to buy local. I mean, you can start buying liquidation by going to a liquidation website, like write this down, liquidations.com. Here's another one, viatrading.com, VIA trading.com. There are so many liquidation websites out there that you can bid on pallets and truckloads or just straight out buy them. That being said, you can't see that product. And I want you to start your liquidation journey by buying locally so that you get used to what liquidation looks like and you reduce your risk of getting burned on product because you can physically go there and see and touch that pallet and talk to the owner and start making relationships before you start going on large websites and kind of um, competing against the big boys and not really knowing what you're looking at. That's a little bit more, it's a higher risk. You want to buy direct from owners of goods. Again, I'm going to find those people on Facebook Marketplace and local auctions most of the time. Pallet and truckload buys from liquidation warehouse auctions. So buying one pallet, so if you were to buy a pallet to get it shipped in, your per unit shipping costs will be a lot higher than if you bought a truckload. So if I had a pallet shipped from, let's say, Los Angeles to Phoenix, I might pay $300 to $350 just to ship one pallet. But if I had a truckload of 24 pallets, it would cost me maybe $100 per pallet because I've got, an entire truckload coming to me. So you want to use economies of scale as you start learning the liquidation market. And then deal brokering, which is the little hidden gem in the liquidation market. You could literally, once you've built up your sources for product and then built up regular buyers for your product, then you can just broker deals because you will find when you start building, getting in the liquidation market and you're building out your buyer pool, you'll start getting emails every day, texts every single day with deals coming to your inbox that maybe you're not interested in, but you can flip that deal, much like real estate flipping. You can broker that deal to somebody else and then just take a piece of it. So let's talk about the liquidation product flow. What happens to all the stuff that people return? How many of you have ever returned something to, let's say, Amazon, for example, or any store whatsoever? What have you ever thought about what is the journey of that product? So you'll here's some more terminology you'll hear bandied about. Large contract holders. You'll hear some liquidation houses saying, we have a contract for fill in the blank with any major retailer. So that's pretty much as close to source other than buying directly from the owner of goods, which you usually can't do unless you have some deep pockets and you can become qualified to be a contract holder. Uh, so first, the product goes into contract holders, which then gets disseminated out to stores or liquidation places that maybe will buy a few truckloads off of that contract holder. And then that goes to any number of places like a liquidation store, a bin store, a retail store, a warehouse sale store, somebody selling out of their garage. Auction houses, there are a lot of auction houses that will buy truckloads of products and just run them through auction, right? So there's any number of ways that you can acquire product in the liquidation market. So types of return pallets, you're going to hear again, these are some more this is some more terminology that you'll start hearing and you'll get used to. Amazon monsters, coffin boxes, gaylords, raw processed HPC, mediums, larges, undeliverables, 3PL. You're going to start hearing these terms. So I want you to just get a visual here. You can take a screenshot of these are the types of things people will be talking about in the liquidation market. So I want you to pay attention to number 3 and 4. So there's a difference between raw and a raw load is a load that comes off of, when I say load, it could be one pallet or truckload. So this is product that comes off of a truck on a pallet that has never been touched. So it comes directly from whoever originally owned that product and is liquidating it. They wrapped their product up into pallets and then they sold it off in truckloads. So you're one step away from the original owner of the products. So raw means it has not been touched by any other human hands other than the warehouse workers from the retailer that originally owned that product. Now we like that product because it has not been what I call quote unquote cherry picked. I think you probably know what that means, right? So a process load is where a liquidator will buy some truckloads of products and they'll take them off the truck raw, then they'll break down the pallets, pick the good stuff off. It's called process, and then re-wrap up that pallet and make it look like, and I'm going to tell you how to identify this because it's very important for me that you stay safe and you don't get ripped off with your first deal because I don't want the liquidation market, you to be soured on the liquidation market because there's just a lot of opportunity in this market. So what they'll do is they'll cherry pick all the good stuff off, and you'll see if they have a liquidation store, all these things on their shelves you can buy individually. That's a clear indication that they are cherry picking first. If you go into a liquidation pallet place and all they sell is pallets, then there's a greater opportunity for those to be raw. But if they have like a back room where they're selling things on eBay, it's again high likelihood that they process that pallet and cherry pick things off. So how do you tell whether or not a pallet is raw or processed? They might tell you they're raw, but everything, caveat emptor, be what is it? Caveat emptor, buyer beware. Just because somebody works for a liquidation store says something doesn't necessarily mean it's true until you've developed a relationship with these people who are selling liquidation loads. Just take everything with a grain of salt. Do your own research. How do you tell if a pallet has been processed? So here are a couple things I look for. One, if the pallet has they put sweeteners, I call them sweeteners, around the outsides. So if palette looks too good to be true, so for example, they'll have on the outside they'll have put like maybe a set of tools, like a ratchet set or something. This is I actually saw this where they opened up the ratchet set, and as they're rewrapping the pallet, they put that open ratchet set on the outside of the pallet so you can see it. And this actually happened with a toy load. One of my very first toy loads was a big Gaylord, which is a 40 by 48 box that sits on top of the pallet, and it's about 4 or 5 feet high, 4 feet high. And it was a toy load. And what they did when they took pictures was they put like a Barbie doll on top and maybe a Lego set or a Marvel set or something like that. So I bought it based on that and the description that there were about 2,000 pieces in that. And that should have been a red flag for me, but I was pretty new to the industry. So learn from learn from my mistakes. So I get that load and yeah, the Barbie doll and the Lego set were in there. But first the boxes were all crunched, but they had taken like this they zoomed in on the Barbie doll so that they didn't show the whole box. And those were the only two things of value in the box. Everything else was just junk. And the funny, I can laugh at it now. But the funny part was those 2,000 items were the bottom of the box was a bunch of bouncy balls. Yep, yep, thousand bouncy balls, like a bunch of bouncy balls, and dollar store stuff, like from the party section that they had opened up and thrown in there. It was bad, and it took quite a bit for me to get my money back, and I was out shipping on that load. It was very, yeah. I didn't buy liquidation for a little bit after that because I got a whole lot more cautious. Oh, by the way, never buy liquidation with emotions. So these process loads, they make it look like a great load by teasing you with things on the outside of the pallet, but inside the pallet is just stuffed with junk quite often. So if you find yourself getting emotionally attached to a pallet, oh my God, look at that. It's got a tool set, it's got this, and just beware, they're doing that they staged that pallet in order to suck you in. So here's the other thing I look for is how is the pallet wrapped? Now, when I sell liquidation pallets, I wrap these things so that if they fell off the truck, that product is not coming off that physical wood pallet because I've tied it down with the shrink wrap and I've got it wrapped all the way around and over the top so that it is protected from the elements. That's how it should be. That's how pallets, when they travel, should be wrapped. So if you see a pallet that looks like it's haphazardly, real quick, choo 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 choo, just quickly with that saran wrap around the outside, and then it's hanging off of the side, there's a really good chance that that is a processed load. And when they repackaged up that pallet to sell to you, they have a lot of work to get done, those guys in the warehouse, and they just did a quick, just to keep it together, just to keep the product on the pallet, but it's not tied to the pallet. There's open spots everywhere where there should be plastic, and that plastic is hanging. And you'd never ship a pallet that way. So those are if you had to focus on those two pieces of information to keep yourself safe, the difference between a raw and a processed pallet is just look for the telltale signs of a processed pallet and then try to find raw pallets. HPC is high piece count. If you've ever been to a bin store, that's number 5 and 6, HPC and mediums are a lot of what you'll see in these bin stores. So all the little tchotchke stuff would be high piece count. All the things that's like filler, and you can do pretty well with high piece count. If you like buy a high piece count pallet and it's got 2,000 units on there and they're all like, I don't know, cell phone chargers and things like that, you can run all that stuff through auction. There are so many different ways you can sell liquidation product to. Right now, we're just talking about sourcing it. So each one of these types of pallets, and I haven't even touched the surface of all the different pallets you can get, but each one of these has a different strategy for selling the product on the pallets. Undeliverables is an interesting one. So keep in mind, a lot of what you're seeing here with the types of return pallets, they're not manifested, which means it's a little bit of it's like a lottery ticket, mentality, where you're buying it not really knowing it's on there. You get that little bit of a dopamine hit because you like to break it down and see what goodies you got and hope there's some high value product on there. I personally like buying manifested products or manifested pallets and truckloads where I know what's on there and I know what I paid per piece and I have a strategy for selling it before I even get the product in hand. And that's my model. But each one of these models has opportunities in it. Undeliverables mean it's undeliverable mail. So this is interesting because it's not store returns. So all the product is pretty much new. And for some reason, the customer was not able to get it delivered. Maybe they moved or the post office couldn't get it delivered for whatever reason. Do you ever wonder where that undeliverable mail goes? They go into Gaylords and they get sold in the liquidation market. And then 3PL, this is one of my favorites, third party logistics companies. A lot of times they will have abandoned goods, or for some reason, maybe they're liquidating products from an Amazon seller. They're new products. You know what you're getting. It's manifested. You've got the SKUs ahead of time. So each one of these types of pallets has opportunity in it. And I'm sorry, again, I've got about 15 years experience in this market. So a little bit more. I'll give you an hour's worth of everything I can during this hour. I can't possibly cover everything, but these are the most important things for you to start with. Besides, you'd get overwhelmed if we gave you too much information in the presentation. So hopefully you're taking notes, and I'm going to show you some examples so you can put it all together. So on the right-hand side, those are cases, those white cases of Toltecs are t-shirts. So this was a local auction that I bought, I think a half a pallet of these t-shirts from. And then I found when I picked up from the owner of these t-shirts, it was a print house. He said, hey, I've got like 3 or 4 other pallets here. Do you want those too? And I made a deal to take in all of these pallets of t-shirts. And then on the left-hand side, so my strategy when I locate any kind of supplier is I go into problem solving mode. I want to find out what is the problem they're trying to solve. How can I help them solve it by taking product off their hands? So on the left-hand side are cat scratchers, big cat scratchers, all put together. And if you notice that big Gaylord in the back, you see that big giant box, it's actually sitting on a wood pallet. By the way, that's what a large Gaylord looks like. This is how they packaged the stuff. They threw it all in these Gaylords that are now falling apart. So every time they tried to move this stuff, cat scratchers would fall out of it, and it was a mess. And it was taking up their warehouse. They couldn't get the trailer out of there, and they've got cat scratchers everywhere. So they're very motivated to get these cat scratchers gone. I like the pet market. I have buying criteria, and pet market is one of the markets that I look for product in. So, and I know, anybody with a cat. How many of you have cats here? Me, I rescue cats, right? So cat scratchers are one, pricey, and two, in demand. So I know I can sell these things. I don't have to look them up, nothing. So I went back there, I took this picture and I took it up to the front. I said to the owner, what these are kind of all over the place. What do you want for them? And he got this look of frustration on his face, which I know right away is he needs to solve a problem. He needs these things gone. We negotiated a great price. I went and rented a quick not a minivan, a cargo van, and showed up and bought all of these. Just filled up the van. So these are just two examples of the types of things you can do in the liquidation market. But I'm going to show you some more. So I bought a couple thousand girls' Levi's jeans, branded jeans. Cost of ship with shipping was $2,800. The retail value was $30,000. They came from New York, so my shipping was a little bit higher. I bulk sold them. They're all gone between $5 and $8 each. But by the way, you don't need to bulk sell. That's just my business model. I buy liquidation and closeouts, and then I sell them to other resellers. So you could sell these on Poshmark for like 15, 16 bucks a pair if you're a reseller. The gross was $13,000. My net profit was $10,200 on, I think it was two pallets. Came on two pallets. And these are just some examples. So I'm going to show you what a pallet looks like that's been processed. On the right-hand side, this is a processed pallet. And you can tell, see how the shrink wrap is kind of hanging off, and they've put a couple of pillows on the outside. So these pillows right there was kind of a first, I like bedding. That's another market I like. So on top was this big comforter. And as I'm looking at the case packs, I realize each one of those is a case pack from a major retailer. So what they did was they opened one of those case packs that had pillows in it, and they put like the retail store pricing on the outside so you could see it. So I knew this was a processed pallet, but I could tell what was on the pallet. So I took a chance on it anyway. And here's what we got on this pallet. I got three of those comforter sets, those king comforter sets, which retail for about 60 bucks. These Leisure Comfy Pet, that box right there, was actually this really, really high-end dog bed with a removable cover. It poofed out, but you wouldn't know unless there was no UPC on it. I just did a little bit of research on Amazon while I was there, and everything else was from a major retailer. You can zoom in and see which one that is. So I took a chance on this pallet. I paid $200 for this pallet, I believe. Even though it was processed, I could see what was on it. This is another pallet that I got from the same liquidation company. It was a blind pallet, and I was just testing out, okay, what does, if I just bought a blind pallet, just without doing a lot of research, I invested a couple $100 in it. Here's what was on this pallet. A new mobility scooter was down in the bottom. I didn't even know it was there. It was boxes that had no identifying marks on it. It was a $700 retail. I sold it local for $325. It also had a hot wave wet dry vacuum on it. That I could see that was on it. And this electric bike, this was another item that the box was not the way that they packaged the box on there. It was brand new, but I couldn't tell what was in the box. But it was big and it was heavy, so I took a chance. It was a $550 retail. I sold that one overnight from listing it just locally. Oops, sorry. Not sure where that happened. Keep going. Don't know why the share is not working here. Let me see if you guys can, let me start the share again. There's something went a little bit wonky. There we go. There we go. I stopped the share. Sorry. Okay, this was also on that same pallet. And it was in two big boxes taken apart. Again, it just had like the brand name on it, but it didn't really tell me what it was. So again, I took a chance because it had those four items in big boxes on this pallet, and that was it. And I paid 200 bucks for the pallet, I think. It was this big toddler slide set, again, brand new, 220 bucks, but the boxes were kind of crunchy. They were they were damaged on the side, whatever, but I took a chance. And when you have a pallet where you can't really identify everything on it, you are taking a chance. It is a risk. Not every pallet is going to be like this. So here was what was on pallet one. I paid $200 for the wet dry vac. Oh, there was two comforter sets. There were three, but I kept one for myself. The electric bike, a child play set, a shelving unit, which I kept for myself, 21 flower pillows, electric mobility scooter. The total retail value was $2,500. I sold it 60% off retail, and then, minus the comforter set, 1,500. My net profit was $1,300, 1,298, and I took a chance with 200 bucks. But keep in mind, when you don't know what's on a pallet when you buy it, you've got to negotiate a great price on it, not overpay at all because it's a risk. Okay, so the next palette I got was 100 wood easels. They retail at $26 each, 8 art kits, another 11 piece, 146-piece art kits, 9 88-piece art kits, 14 paint by number, and I was headed into Q4. So this was just a crazy palette. 200 bucks, a big 118-piece art suitcase. The retail value is 42.52. I sold them off probably at about 50% retail because I did a lot of bulk deals. And then the pallet cost was 200 bucks. My net profit is 24.11. This is what it looks like. I just started breaking these pallets down, sorry, before I was like, oh, let me take pictures of them. So these are the products that I got on that particular pallet. It was a lot bigger because I bought the easels were on there too down at the bottom. These were the easels. Whole pallet of easels. 26.99 online. So how do you sell something like this? And I go into this a lot in my liquidation profit course. But what I do is sell these off by the case pack. There's 10 in a case. So who would buy these easels? Think about it. Funeral homes would buy these easels, schools, and any place that holds weddings. So like a hall that holds weddings and retirement homes. So I didn't necessarily want to sell them off individually. I sold them locally for 15 bucks a piece. What I wanted was to sell the whole case of 10 of them. So I targeted funeral homes, for example. So they'd come buy a case from me. And that way I could sell them faster. 3 pallets in 2 weeks. This was last end of the summer. Pallet one value is $12.98. Pallet two value is $24.11. Pallet three value is $4.08. Seven total net profit $7,794. And this was just going to a pallet place at the end of last summer locally to show you guys, because normally I don't buy customer returns or anything. I only buy new product, but to illustrate that it's when you know what you're doing, it's fairly easy to find product that you can make that there's opportunity, wherever. And I wanted to prove to you, not just say, oh yeah, you can go do this, but to show you, yeah, I did it. Let's talk about how to avoid being scammed. Because that's a big thing in this market. I see a lot of people get very excited about, oh, I'm going to buy liquidation pallets and truckloads, and they buy the first pallet, and boy, do they get messed over. There sadly are a lot of companies and fly-by-night operations in the liquidation market. I'm just going to say it out loud. There are. First thing I want to do is check their Google company reviews and their Facebook marketplace reviews. Then I want to go there. I want to find local sources so I can physically go there. Physically go there. Do a small test buy one little pallet. Give yourself a budget of a few $100s. Know the difference between raw and processed pallets. Physically examine the pallets. And if they are not local to you, here's the trick. If you find a truckload that looks too good to be true, or even a pallet of something like that looks just too good to be true, you're going to say to them, you want to make sure that they physically have that product in their hands. So you say, please write my name on a Post-it note and take a photo of the pallet with that Post-it note in front of it, not their name and not their business card. I want them to write Barbara Drazga on a Post-it note and hold it in front of the physical pallet that they are trying to sell to me. That way, if they don't have the pallet in their possession, but they're lying and telling you they do, or if they balk and say, "Oh, I got too much. I'm too busy. I can't do that. I don't have the time to do that." That's a big red flag. Another big red flag is never send the money with a non-refundable service. Never Zelle them money. And then the third is anybody who says that you need to give them a deposit in order to have an appointment. It's called an appointment deposit, an appointment fee that they'll apply to your pallet. If they have charge you or attempt to charge you for an appointment to come visit their warehouse, run, 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 run. Big red flag. They're just making money on port and fees. They might not even have a warehouse for products. That's a huge scam out there. No appointment fees, nothing. Here's what you look for. You look for a seller who says, if anybody wanted to see what was in my warehouse, I would turn my phone on and I would do a video call with them and walk through the warehouse and walk through the showroom. That's the kind of seller that you're going to look for, not somebody who's trying to get money from you before you even see what they have to sell. Okay, how to start in liquidation for less than $100 with no warehouse. So again, I keep saying this over and over because it's so important to start local. Visit your local liquidation outlet. And if you're like out in the boonies and you're blessed enough to be out off the grid and on this beautiful farm and you're an hour away from the largest city, I encourage you to take a trip to the city. Take a trip in and map out a bunch of different liquidation places and take a day, stay in a hotel overnight if you need to, and make it a weekend where you're out looking for sources of liquidation. Visit a local outlet, physically pick up a pallet to start with. And by the way, here's some tips. The one of my favorite vehicles to pick up pallets with is a from Budget Rental Car, and I'm pretty sure Budget Rental Truck, I'm sure U-Haul has one, whatever, is a cargo van. Easy to drive, and I can fit 2 pallets of products in there. So, because they have the high top, medium wheelbase cargo vans. It's my very favorite. Visit a local online auction house in your area and visit a couple local bin stores. This is fun. So I go to a bin store once a week and I go during dollar day and I look for products that are of value of $25 or more. And here's my strategy for doing that. First, it's basically liquidation pallets that have been dumped into these bins. Now I can just take that product and put it through a local auction where the minimum bid is $5. Easy peasy, easy peasy. Flip it, flip it, flip it. And I get enough product. Every 2 weeks, I can run an auction. Here is one of my bin store hauls. And it's a combination of Amazon returns, store returns, 3PL, anything you would find in a bin store, which is usually like 2 or 3 different sources of stuff that they dump in the bins. So I had an entire cart full. I can't remember what I paid. Maybe on this next slide I can show you. No, but this is just one haul. So the bin store last Thursday I went to a dollar day. I have a strategy now. I'll start at the back of the store. I have a strategy for everything. I have an SOP for pretty much everything. I start at the back of the store. I grab a cart when I go in because usually there's limited carts. I get there early. If I have to stand in line, doesn't matter. I grab a cart, go to the back of the store, fill it up with the heavy and high value stuff. And I don't take a ton of time because it's dollar store. I mean, it's a dollar day. So I don't do a ton of research. I kind of eyeball it and you get better. As you go to bin stores, you start recognizing things and saying, okay, I know what that is and I have an idea what that is, but I'll take a chance on a lot of stuff. I maybe have looked up really quickly, maybe half of it, maybe, because I want to get that cart out the door into my minivan and come back for another load. That's my strategy. Speed is my strategy at bin stores. So, how do you use liquidation buys to discover new product ideas? This is fun. So, when I go to a bin store or buy liquidation where I don't know what's on the pallet and I see a product that I put it up maybe on Facebook Marketplace and people fight over it, that is a good indication that I should go find a wholesale supplier or the manufacturer of that product. Here's some examples. Again, I love pet. So on the left-hand side here, we've got this pet carrier, which accordions out for people who are going through an airport. And let's say there's a delay, or you've got like, a 3-hour delay or something on a flight, and your poor little puppy dog or kitty cat is in, their little carrier. That can be very stressful. This thing accordions out, so they have like, a place they can lay down, you can put food, they can hang out, and then it accordions back in when you're ready to travel. And then on the right-hand side, this was a surprise to me. I didn't know this product existed. I put it up on Facebook Marketplace and people were like jumping all over themselves to get this. It's called boxwood. It's fake plant and boxwood panels, and you put it on your wall. And I discovered that the wedding market really likes this for some reason. I don't know why, but I don't need to know why it's popular. So I could go off and find a wholesale supplier or a factory for this type of product and source more of it. And that's one of the things, the fun things of going to a bin store is I discover product I didn't know would be popular. I know we've all run across that product that sells like hotcakes, and you're like, why would anybody buy this? That's one of the positives is going to a bin store is I discover new products that I can then go source. Here it is. I paid $4 for this. I sold it for $50. Apparently, this box sells for $99 on Amazon. Pretty crazy, right? I had no idea. It's plastic plants. Who'd thunk? Here's another one. This came from a bin store. I think this was a $4. I think I paid $4 for it. But look at the packaging. It was it was in this foam with that foam on the left-hand side. That's the cover of it with no identifying marks on it. And the whole thing was wrapped firmly in that yellow tape all the way around. Nobody and people were picking it up and putting it back because a lot of bin store buyers or the resellers, they don't like to work. They don't know what it is. They don't work. So I paid whatever I paid for it, a couple bucks, blind, not knowing what it was. And you can see it in my cart here. See that on the right hand side? It's in there. So here's what it is. It is it's a guitar body, but I think it was like ashwood or something like that. It's a guitar body. And what, a $418 on Amazon. And I think I sold it for $100 local. I probably could have gotten more for it, but I wanted a fast flip. And I think I paid $4 for this. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that fast flip. So hopefully you've taken a lot of notes. Hopefully you've got a page full of notes so you can go. I would challenge you like right away this weekend or this week, start doing your research, start online, and then, a couple $100 in your pocket. You don't even have to go buy anything, but start going into some local liquidation stores. You want to scope out your liquidation sources locally. Join liquidation Facebook groups. There are so many of them. I'm going to tell you how you can get a list of dozens of them from me. Read the posts and the comments in those liquidation Facebook groups. Don't buy anything. Don't buy anything that's listed in there. It's usually being shipped to you. You don't have a relationship with those people yet. You want to learn the jargon. Join my Liquidation and Auction Profits Masterclass. So I've just relaunched this, put all new liquidation sources in there. Remember, you can start this week by going to viatrading.com just to see what type of stuff is on the liquidation market. Go to localauctions.com and go to via trading local auctions, liquidations.com. Be careful not to buy anything online yet. I'd love you to start with liquidation by finding your own local sources. And I also invite you to join me in the Liquidation and Auction Profits Masterclass for just $297. It's a one-time investment. You get lifetime access to it. You can go to liquidationprofit.com. We do live sourcing in there. There's a whole like 3-hour video where we went blind online and we just started opening up liquidation websites and found a ton of profitable product on different liquidation websites. I also give you my 6 very favorite closeout companies to buy from and their websites. I know the owners personally at this point because I've been buying from them for years, and I'll show you how to evaluate closeout deals as well. Here's what you learn. You get my comprehensive quick start guide, a vetted liquidation supplier directory of 134 suppliers. There's more than that in there now. I added a bunch this week because I'm always updating the program. 24 auction sites where you can get case packs, pallets, truckloads, 11 Facebook deals groups, a training video where I teach you how to understand the 5 main profit centers, training video with live sourcing where you watch over my shoulder as we found deals worth over $100,000 in retail, student Facebook group access, and then 7 days of live coaching. We're going to do a live every single day. We're going to go live, and I can help you evaluate deals. We will find deals together every day between April 21st and 27th. I'll answer your questions. We'll even take a look at any products that you found or any pallets you found, and you want to know whether or not it's a good deal. Or maybe you've bought a couple of pallets and you want to know how to sell them. We'll do live Q&A during that 7 days, April 21 to 27. Plus, you get my hoarder t-shirt. I'm wearing my pink one right now. You can get a pink or a black one, your choice in your size. And it says, I'm not a hoarder. This is my inventory. I get a lot of comments on that. You can only buy this t-shirt for me. I made this up myself, and I'll press it to your order. And you can choose from hot pink that I'm wearing today or the black one. Here are some students are saying. Some of my coaching students, Karen, who we started her private label company together, says she's learned so much more from Barbara than how to create an email list. Barbara shares her knowledge and experience freely. Working through her process, I'm learning how to be a successful entrepreneur. Everything is process driven in my life. So I will show you processes so that you can set up processes and checklists. And by the way, you get a liquidation checklist too, so that you know how to evaluate loads as you see them and how to find loads and how to market and sell the loads by using my checklist. Ian, as a private coaching student, says that every session with Barbara results in a breakthrough, either personally or professionally. And Claudia Schneider, I enjoy your way of teaching, coaching us, pushing us to take actions. And all the time you spent with us was an amazing experience, unbelievable. Here's one of the liquidation profits students. Inga says, once again, a big thank you for the great training you provided. I learned a lot, bought my first pallet today, and she bought her first pallet within a couple of days of going through the liquidation profits course. And she says she's gained a lot of insight through this experience, and I hope that you have the same experience as well. In this program, here's what you're going to learn, at least how to find your own reputable suppliers, how to negotiate the best prices, which profit model you should choose first, second, third, how to broker deals, make money without ever touching product, how to evaluate a product before laying out capital, how to build a repeat buyer list. So when you buy pallets or truckloads, you already have built-in buyers ready to pick up. How to niche focus, mastering the art of yard sales, how to profit from yard sales, but really maximize the profit, how to recognize scams. I'll give you my directory of liquidation sources, a directory of liquidation Facebook groups, how to source liquidation from auctions, how to create your own local Facebook selling group, your bin store sourcing secrets, logistics. How do you store, transport equipment? By the way, you don't need a warehouse. I'm going to show you how to enter the liquidation market with no warehouse whatsoever, how to get the best freight rates. When you enroll, you're going to get my brand new updated How to Make Money with Liquidation in 2025. You're going to get my new guide of live social selling. If you guys have been watching me, you know that I have launched on Whatnot. So my social selling arm and it's growing quickly. And I'm probably going to triple down on that. And Whatnot will be one of my biggest selling channels by the end of this year, hopefully by the end of the summer. So I created a live social selling guide so you can learn how to add that to your liquidation business as well. I give you deal evaluation checklists, how to build an email list of repeat buyers. I show you how to set up that email capture system, and then deal brokering, how to learn the art of deal flipping. So I invite you to join right now for $297. Go to liquidationprofit.com. I am going to take some questions in the chat. So if you've got any questions, go ahead and drop those in the chat. Anything at all about sourcing liquidation, go ahead and put that in the chat, and there we go. Happy to answer you. And remember, our live coaching starts April 21. So make sure, yeah, exactly. Good Christmas presents. Make sure that you sign up for Liquidation Profit before the 21st. You can get started and go through the course and the program before we get to our live coaching. That's 7 days of live coaching and Q&A, which is a whole lot of fun because we just go on liquidation websites and just start finding products. It's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel. Once we get started, it's a load of fun, and for products that you can just go find and source right away. So liquidationprofit.com. Let me put that in the chat for you. Liquidation. Profit.com. There's no S on the bottom on the end of that. Liquidationprofit.com. There you go. And let me stop the share and answer some questions for you guys. What questions do you have about the liquidation market? Welcome in. If I didn't welcome you when you first came. Hey, Tracy. Hey, Linda. Nice to see you guys. What kind of questions do you have about liquidation? By the way, you see one of my two warehouses behind me. This is where I hold warehouse sales, and I have a subscription box. So right now I'm prepping boxes to go out. And then I have a live selling. This is for tonight's show. I'm doing all sorts of stuff. My live selling vignette, and that changes. I've got a couple of them back here in this warehouse, and then a couple of more up front as well, each one with a different niche. So are these business associations for liquidation business? Are there business associations? There are business associations for liquidation business. In fact, there's also local, like look for local chapters. Look for local chapters. So there's actually this huge liquidation show that The price point to get in is about $1,500. And let me find the name of it for you. But what that does is it keeps out liquidation. And here's how we find, I'm on my phone right now and I'm searching liquidation trade show. So unlike like ASD, which is free, right? It's called re-commerce is the name of this industry, re-commerce. So ASD, anybody can get in, but you want to go if you're serious about liquidation to, let's see, there's a wholesale market in Kentucky. I'm not seeing it right off the top of my head, but I'll remember it. But it's like remarket or something week. I'll have to look it up. What is the ASD? Oh, ASD is a show that happens twice a year. I went last month. Another one's coming up end of July or beginning of August or something. And it's in Vegas and it's a place to find. In fact, I found a new liquidation supplier for me that is local in Phoenix. And I'm going to go down and they're down a little bit south of downtown here in Phoenix. I'm going to go down there. You have to make an appointment, but I'm going to go down there and see what they've got. And they do all, I mean, there's all manner of liquidation. You can do um, liquidation grocery, like short dated grocery. You can everything, anything you can think of is on the liquidation market. I like to, and they have like Target loads of clothing, which is just blind Gaylords. There's so much out there. There's just so much out there. So you can start by buying a blind pallet and getting your feet wet for a couple $100 by buying your first pallet and just try it out and see how it works. But then I want you to think about creating processes. So know when you go down there what types of products you're looking for, what types of liquidation loads you're looking for, and then where you're going to sell it much like in the real estate market, you want to know how you're going to sell a property before you buy it, right? What are you going to do with that property? Are you going to buy and hold? Are you going to rent it out? Are you going to fix and flip it? Or, what are you going to do with that product? So I always look at pallets with a mind's eye to what am I going to do to sell that stuff? Like, where will I sell it? Who would be a good buyer for this? Am I going to put just everything into an auction with a minimum bid? I mean, that's going to be the lowest value extraction. Am I going to cherry pick it, put some stuff on eBay, put the rest through auction? Like, no, am I going to do a yard sale? You can do that. I know a lady locally who buys baby blankets for me because I manufacture baby blankets, and she does great with yard sales. She'll just buy a bunch of stuff at like bin stores for $1, etc., and some wholesale and liquidation stuff. And then once every 2 months, she'll do a huge yard sale. And by the way, this is the t-shirt you get when you come join us at liquidationprofit.com. It says, "I'm not a hoarder." That's my inventory. You can choose from black or pink and choose your choose your size, and I will press this for you. So there's all sorts of ways to profit in the liquidation market. It doesn't have to be, you don't need a warehouse. In fact, I would highly recommend not getting a warehouse initially. You want to build up to that because there are other considerations and it's much higher risk level and commitment level. So how did I get started? I started with a storage unit. And then I ramped up to multiple storage units because storage units I can rent for 1 month. And then after I've sold off the pallets that are in there, I can just hand in the keys, right? But also with storage units, a lot of storage places will have special offers where you buy 2 months, get one free. So I'll take advantage of that for 90 days. Then I will go source for 90 days and sell out of the storage units locally. That's it. Or eBay, but locally is good. And then a 10 by 30 storage unit, just to give you a little bit to get started with, a 10 by 30 storage unit is will fit 14 pallets. A truckload is 24 pallets, but you can fit 14 pallets, 7 and 7, with about 2 feet in the center to walk down. So this gives you a little bit of like think outside the box ideas so that you don't jump in big, jump in small, but jump in small and work your way up as you learn. That's my input to you. Do we have any other questions in the chat? Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing you guys in liquidationprofit.com. Again, we're going to do, you can, when you register right now, you get immediate access to the content that's in there and the sourcing guidebook that you can print out. And you can order get the t-shirt. Just give me your size and color you want. And then we start with our live 7-day coaching, April 21 to April 27. All of that will be recorded, of course, all those sessions and put into the liquidation profit program area where you'll have access for, as long as the lifetime of the course, which, is until whenever. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys in Liquidation Profit. You can reach me. My name is Barbara Drazga on Facebook or YouTube, and ask me any questions you like about liquidation. And I hope to see you in the Liquidation Profit course program. And let's grow together. Let's build some businesses. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.